Welcome to the Elevate Podcast, where every leader has a story. We bring you conversations with influential leaders who are shaping our local communities. Hear about their path to leadership and experiences that define them, and how they're driving meaningful impact today. Hey everybody, Jason Holm here with another episode of the Elevate Powered by Braden podcast. And as you can see, things are a little bit different. Instead of just myself talking to a friend, I'm actually talking to two friends today, which is really cool. Great opportunity to be able to share the stories of not only a great local nonprofit, but also a couple of great individuals, a couple of people that I've had a chance to talk to now over the last couple of months. But Chris and Joseph, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
All right. So obviously we're going to talk about IYG, but we're not there in either parts of your story, right? So we need to figure out where we are there. But before we get started, IYG, maybe let's just give your guys' roles in the organization. So Joseph, you first.
Yeah, I'm Chief of Staff at IYG.
Perfect. And Chris?
And I am the CEO through the end of this year.
Through the end of this year. That's awesome, by the way. All right. Okay. So we know IYG is nonprofit located here in Indiana, but it's not where either of you two started. So Chris, let's start with you. Where's your genesis? Where are you from originally?
I was born and raised in the San Francisco Bay Area, moved to Louisville for high school, and then went to Hanover College for my undergrad.
All right. So San Francisco to Louisville, then go to Hanover. That's a pretty big change.
It is.
San Francisco to, okay. All right. So in Hanover, what were you going to study at Hanover?
Hanover's a liberal arts school, so I have a liberal arts degree with a concentration in business and psychology.
Okay. Business and psychology. All right, Joseph, same question for you. So where are you from originally?
So originally born in Ohio. I don't typically claim it because I moved to Indianapolis when I was 5. So
You're a
Hooter pretty much through and through. But grew up here. Went to Rebuff for high school, Manchester University for my undergrad, and he studied English with writing concentration, Spanish minor, and then went on to get an MFA in creative nonfiction writing from Spalding in Louisville.
Oh, cool.
And then also got a degree, a master's in clinical mental health counseling from Northwestern after that.
So a little bit of school.
A little bit like one or maybe one more degree.
Basically, we'll just see what
Just
happens.
to see what you play with time a little bit.
It's good to hear that you're a Hoosier and don't claim to be a Buckeye.
Yeah.
That's terrific to hear. Okay, so coming out of school, Chris, what did you think you were going to do? What was kind of the goal coming out of Hanover?
To get into business somehow, and I started with a company called Taylor Homes. We built scattered site custom homes in 6 states. Started handling warranty service and grew through that. Ended up as vice president of sales and construction after 23 years.
Oh, no kidding.
Somewhere in there, got a MBA from IU, and then just decided that it didn't feed my soul anymore. So I came home and said to my wife, I think I'm going to quit my job. And she was like, that's a decision.
Okay. That's one.
Yeah.
All right. That's one you could make.
Yeah.
There's others you can make as well. Like, hey, let's eat pizza. It's a decision.
Yeah. No, but I was like, let's quit my job. So
23
years. And it just, I was well compensated. The work was fine. It just didn't feed my soul. And so I thought, what can I do that would actually help people?
Really? Okay. All right. So I want to go back to that in just a minute. But Joseph, when you were coming out of school, so from Manchester originally, right? What was your goal? Where were you going to go? And what was that first role?
So I had no idea, honestly. I had an English degree. I loved writing. I know there's always like the pipe dream of like, I'm going to be a writer and those things are going to happen.
Yep.
But that I quickly learned that takes time and, connections and diligence and things like that. But I always loved the idea of teaching. And so I actually did Teach for America in South Dakota.
Oh, wow.
And I taught on the Rosebud Sioux Reservation
Okay.
with the Lakota tribe, and taught high school and college English. And then also ended up being a cheerleading coach somehow while I was out there, just because I was a singer and dancer in college, and they were like, oh, it's the same thing. You could probably do that. You loved it. My cheer squad, I had an amazing assistant coach. We were mostly co-head coaches, and we ended up winning 2 championships with our team, which was awesome.
Okay.
But did not expect I'd be doing that. So I had a career in education, teacher, coach, principal, like kind of liaison, stuff like that. And then the pandemic was real where I started to shift when I was teaching online all day. I was like, this
isn't, that's not filling your cup, right?
not filling my cup. And when I got my MFA, I also wanted to be a professor and teach college level, but I finished the MFA in December of 2019. And so right before the world kind of paused for extended period of time, and I was teaching online pretty much all of 2020. I was like, I don't think this is going to be the forever. And at that point, we just really didn't know what was going to happen.
What's going to happen, right? What's going to go back to the new normal, all those types of things. So, but the Teach for America, that's where you put in and they kind of send you wherever they happen. So you going in, you get to pick.
So yeah, I was able to put 10 options. And my mom and I had a conversation when I was applying for it. She was, I think it would be really cool if you ended up working like on a reservation or with like indigenous folks. I think you'd be really good for that. And like something I had never really thought about.
Yeah, sure.
But I was definitely open to it. And there were only 2 sites that served indigenous populations. So I chose South Dakota on one, and Seattle was the other option. Okay. And all the other areas were predominantly Black areas. So I figured like I'll be happy no matter what. I just want to make sure that I'm in front of minority groups who see other folks like them who have like understand where they're coming from and things like that. And so I should have known putting South Dakota as an option, I would be there, because they're one that was very low ranked typically for folks. Because I mean, I cannot express enough that how rural.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It is
beautiful.
It's so beautiful.
So beautiful.
I've never seen that much land in my life.
Yeah, there's just not as many people covering it as
there was more cows in the state than there are.
I believe that's true, by the way. And there was an important lesson in there also. People out there, listen to your mom. Right. So your moms are always
yes, mom's always been correct.
Always been correct. We actually heard that on another episode earlier this year of somebody who took advice from their mom. Always a great idea. Okay. So Chris, back to you. 23 years, same job, doing well. VP of sales, running stuff. Come home, not saying, hey, let's have pizza. I'm going to quit my job. All right. So one of the things that's interesting about that is, you mentioned you spoke to your wife. And so I'm curious what that reaction was like, right? And then also, what were you thinking, you were going to do? Was it to get into a nonprofit space? Well, what was that thought process like? Because I'm sure there are people today who are out there doing something, but maybe they feel like there's something else they could do. Maybe their cup isn't being full, like you said. And maybe they need to make a step, right? So that journey that you went through could be interesting for somebody to learn kind of what you did and how you navigated.
Yeah. Yeah, my wife's reaction was like, okay, like, we'll figure it out.
Wow.
Yeah, which is, she's always been very supportive of whatever I do. And in the role I have now, obviously has to be very supportive because I'm, a lot of evenings, a lot of weekends, and a lot of calls late at night and things like that. But yeah, so I just, we own a couple small construction companies. So I was like, I'll just do some projects. And a month into that, Freedom Indiana called and said, hey, we hear you're not working. Will you run our campaign to get a non-discrim passed in the state? And I was like, they're like, it'll be like 4 months. And I'm like, sure, I can do that for 4 months. So I went and became the campaign manager at Freedom Indiana. Worked a lot at the State House. Ended up being there about 19 months.
Okay.
And in that time, IYG called and said, hey, we're running a capital campaign. This was back in 2017.
Okay.
And would you help us with it? Because, construction and, some people know your face a little bit. So I was like, sure, I'll help with that. And then during that campaign, the executive director left and IYG was like, hey, are you looking for a job? I was like, no, still not looking for a job. But they're like, just, apply just for a couple years. And I was like, okay. And so 9 years later, I'm still here. Obviously, I'm not good with time. But,
yeah, right. Yeah.
So 9 years, I'm still here. And it's been the hardest and the most rewarding job I've ever had.
No kidding.
Right. Yeah.
That's awesome, by the way. And, part of that story, you were open to others saying, hey, we need some help. Will you be willing? Right. And the answer was yes.
Yep.
I'm sure I could do this for a little while. I could do this for a couple of years. 9 years later, of course, like you said, with time. All right. So now that takes you up to IYG. You're teaching, right? And you get to the pandemic, and now we're doing things online. Things are changing for you. How do you get from there to IYG?
Yeah, so during the pandemic, like I said, I graduated with my MFA in 2019 in December. And as a teacher, I was always, I mean, I think this is the English teacher trope, but you're the classroom that everybody goes to, the teacher that everybody goes to, like we're on receiving all of students' biggest wins and also the hardest moments. And so I felt like I was already in that counseling space and I was always referring people out. And so uh, January of 2020, after finishing one master's, I said, what if I was a therapist? Like, what if I decided to just go that route instead? So I applied to Northwestern in January of 2020, not knowing like the world was going to shut down in 2 months. Got admitted, accepted, started the program in June of 2020. So the entirety of the pandemic, I was doing grad school online to become a therapist.
Okay.
So in that process, I was also on the IYG board. And so I met Chris. I started on the board in 2019. And so Chris was very well aware that I was in the mental health program. And I think probably had I've since learned about Chris is they always have a long-term plan. They always have somebody that they're looking at, somebody that for a seat. And so I cannot express how hilarious it was like month one after graduation. Chris was like, so you got your degree. IYD started a therapy program. Do you want to come work for us? And I was like, I know they started the program. I voted on it as a board member. But not right now. I had just finished my internship and I was at a private practice and felt like I wanted to kind of do private practice for a few months.
Sure.
One thing about private practice is it's so rewarding, but it is so challenging to build up.
Right. Of course. Yeah.
So at the time, I had just actually gone through a pretty tough breakup and was on single income at that point. And I was just like, this is a lot of stress. And I got into the therapy world to do work that felt good and felt rewarding.
Yeah.
And I started looking at people as numbers and not as opportunities for growth and development. So I was like, okay, I need to have 25 clients so I could pay all these bills. And it just was not the vibe that I was looking for.
Sure.
Went back to Chris and I was like, hey, so I know 3 months ago I said I'm not interested. I thought more about it. I thought more about the opportunity to be a therapist at IYG and also thought about like little Joseph, who would have loved to know about IYG growing up. It would have made my coming out journey so much easier. And I was like, actually, yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to be able to be a Black queer therapist in a space where folks could so benefit from seeing that and thinking about kids like me who would need that.
Yeah.
I also had a unique kind of approach to therapy because I was a video game therapist. And so I've been playing video games since like an old controller.
Okay.
I love video games. And I remember always feeling like I couldn't make that a career. And then when I was in my therapy program, I started looking at the gamification of mental health and how you can use video games in a therapeutic setting. And I was like, oh, I want to do that.
Oh, that's
And so that is kind of the lens that I brought to therapy, and with Chris's encouragement to consider rolling off the board and rolling onto IYG staff.
Yeah.
I did that and started at IYG July of 23.
Okay. All right. So I love the stories, how they a little bit intertwine of, your cup's not being full, right? You mentioned, 23 years in a role, but your cup wasn't being full and you wanted to go out and help people. You were teaching, but now kind of doing that online. And then you were doing a lot of therapy work anyways. Kids were coming in to talk to you. You seemed like maybe you might be one of those people that could do that. But then, doing it and saying, I need 25 clients to pay the bills, that changes the spirit of why you did it. And so also, by the way, when you mentioned early on when Chris said so, you nailed her so, right? That's I want to make sure we heard a lot of time. Just want to make sure you heard that before. And so that you nailed it. That was very, very good there. All right. So now you're both at IYG, right? Chief of Staff, CEO. This is probably a great opportunity to tell the community a little bit more about IYG because I'd driven by the building, been down there a million times, for example. I didn't know an awful lot about the organization. And it was great to learn, obviously, when we chatted the first time around. But it'd be great to share, if you guys would share more about who you're serving, a little bit more about the organization and what you'd want the community to know.
So want to leave it?
Yeah, sure. So high level, IYG serves LGBTQ young people ages 12 to 24 and their straight ally friends. We do that by providing a safer space for young people to be themselves. No space is safe for queer people in this state, so we say a safer space. But we do that by providing a fun place to hang out, meals, a hot meal every night we're open. We have a food pantry, clothing, showers, laundry, mental health services. Obviously, Joseph was a big part of building that program. um, and just a place where young people can decompress and figure out who they are.
Yeah.
A lot of the clients we serve are experiencing homelessness or housing insecurity.
Oh, no kidding.
So we do a lot of work around that too with our young adult population.
Wow. And I know the facility is down off Meridian, right? The tour that I went to, but I think there are other facilities around the state. Is that correct?
Yes. So we have 4 locations outside of Indianapolis. When a lot of that expansion effort was led via Chris and kind of the vision that they had for IYG to extend beyond Indianapolis. And so IYG, I mean, even back to its origins, we've been operating for 39 years now. 40 years is next year.
Oh, wow.
So longest continually operating LGBTQ plus organization and our youth center in the country.
Oh, kidding. In the country, 40 years. That's
Yeah.
terrific.
And so, our founders, Chris Gonzalez and Chris and Jeff, they wanted it to be a safe space, a safer space, like Chris is saying. And, back in 1987, that was so necessary.
Yeah.
It wasn't safe to be queer out loud. It isn't safe now. It definitely wasn't safe then.
Yeah.
The height of the, AIDS epidemic and all of those things. And so I know that IYG at one point was Indianapolis youth group and then eventually changed to Indiana youth group when I was like, we want to serve more than just Indianapolis. And so Chris kind of carried the vision of our founders even farther to say, what if we expand it even beyond Indianapolis? And so now we have our first center was in Crawfordsville, we then expanded to Columbus, and then Evansville, and then Northwest Indiana and the Crown Point area. And so we now have, 5 locations total. The ultimate goal being we want all LGBTQ plus youth and their allies to be within an hour's drive of a safer space.
Yeah.
So wanting IYG to kind of fill that gap. So no matter where you are in the state, you can in the car, get transportation there, whatever it may be, and you have a safe space where you can get a hot meal. You can, try to get some laundry services, showers, programming, connections, community, all of that.
Yeah, it's terrific. I mean, at the end of the day, providing a safer space, community, a hot meal, just knowing that they're cared for.
Yeah.
I mean, that to me is what we all ultimately want. Right? And we all want to have a community. We all want to be cared for. I like the allies. I like the term allies, by the way. That's something, there's a lot of different words you could choose for those individuals that come alongside folks, but I love the term allies that you guys are doing. So IYG, right, obviously we understand what you're doing, kind of who you're serving. How can the community get involved? Are there ways that the community can get involved and be able to help and support in different ways?
We have volunteers who are in our center every night we're open to show the kids what a successful adult looks like. Like you can become this person. Life might be rough right now, but look at this 35-year-old who has made it and they came from the same place you did.
Yeah.
We always can take donations. We go through, kids eat a ton of food. So we go through a ton of food, both hot meals and pantry food. We have an art auction, our 26th annual auction coming up, which is August 22nd. Tickets are available online, ivyg.org.
All right. And is the art produced by the kiddos?
There is some produced by the kiddos, but a lot of it is community donations.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
All right.
So, and there's some really nice pieces that people donate. So
That's cool.
yeah, it's a fun night.
All right.
So, yeah.
And that's in August, correct?
August 22nd.
August 22nd. And is it located at the facility or do you guys?
No, it's going to be downtown, right close to Lucas Oil Stadium.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's a venue there.
Cool of that. All right. Love that. All right. So obviously we're sitting in Braden Business Systems, our headquarters here in Fishers, and we're a technology company.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we like to ask our Indiana leaders and actually Illinois leaders as well is we like to talk a little bit about the evolution of technology and it really in their space, right? So as a nonprofit serving now going almost on 40 years, I'm imagining the technology's changed a lot over those 40 years. And but also, if you think a little bit about maybe the near future, is tech going to evolve in your space a little bit more? And how do you guys use it? So tell me a little bit about that.
I think it definitely will, and I think it already has. I mean, if you think about IYG's origins, I mean, the very first iteration was calling, like just to call in and to say like, hey, here's the support I need. Let's have some like small group time, and it's all arranged via phone calls and word of mouth. And then now, there was a moment kind of before the pandemic where we had like social media, and like that was more of the tech that we were using, is making sure that we had obviously, laptops and things like that, but using more social media and those things to spread the message.
Sure.
And then the pandemic hits, and all of a sudden we can't gather. And IYD's bread and butter has always been bring them in and gathering space. So how do we meet this need when we know that just because we can be a person, it doesn't mean the need is gone? Well, it doesn't mean it means the need is probably even greater. And so then during the pandemic, IYD was able to get Zoom rooms set up so that we could do video conferencing with youth and young adults and have programming virtually and online. So that way, obviously, we didn't have a hot meal every night and things of that nature, where we still had the food pantry for the folks who could get there. But we did have those online spaces set up so we could create more community in that way. And then even in the last few years, when I brought video game therapy to the center, we had so many people donate like gaming laptops, gaming computers. The NBA was a huge supporter of us back in 2024 for the All-Star weekend. And they bought us 2 Switches and a PS5. And I think they replaced one of the TVs, the chairs, gaming chairs, and all sorts of stuff to just kind of beef up like the tech in that room.
Yeah, sure.
And so I think that kind of building is going to continue, is how we, that the world is getting more tech savvy and tech dependent as we go on. And so we need to be able to meet those needs. And so thinking about how we can use technology in a way that is impactful and helpful for our clients, while also being conscious of the impact that technology will have on the environment and the world around us. So I think AI is starting to be a part of that conversation on how people are utilizing AI, how we can make sure that we hire people for their smarts and not for what the AI can do, but how do we make sure it's I know that it's in every sector. It's permeating everywhere.
It is. Yeah.
And so trying to figure out how we can utilize that in a way that is respectful to our clients' needs and our environmental needs. So I think that'll be a big conversation and has been a conversation, but I think every kind of decade or so, I think there's a big technology jump and shift and push. And IYG trying to continue to keep up with that.
Yeah, it's terrific. But the part that I want to pull out of there, right, the technology and the evolution, by having the technology available, you're able to meet people where they are. Let's be honest. Kids are playing games, right? They're on social media. They're in those areas. But that's a community, right? And we can reach that community and bring them into the facility and give them ultimately that kind of that community hug that everybody wants, right? What a great idea to be able to leverage it. AI obviously will continue to be able to help and support. And if I'm hearing kind of leadership styles from both of you, like you said, you hire people for their individual talents, but leveraging AI could help them do a little bit more, right? So the more that we can do, the more that we can do that human interaction, right? If I can leverage AI to do some of this stuff over here, but I can be in front of a kiddo right now and be with them, that's probably the most important thing. It's just great to hear those thoughts on
Yeah. And I think especially with the AI thing, we have a lot of folks, and myself included, who see like some of the hard side of AI and like the horrors of that.
Yep.
But I also think about like in the doctor's office, like my doctors have been more present because the AI is
That's right.
doing the notes for them, and then they're just talking to me and they're just narrating out loud what's happening. But then I don't have a doctor who's sitting on the computer screen during the whole visit, making sure every time they say something or typing it too. So I feel like I'm meeting with the doctor, but the doctor's staring at the computer, except for doing my test. And so trying to make that a reality of knowing that there are some really, really bad ways people are using AI. and making sure that we are trying not to contribute to that, while also that feeling of when your doctor could be more present for you. Like, how do we make that a reality?
That's right. We call it human intelligence, right? So those things of being where you are with the people that you're with and building that human interaction. If AI can give me more time to do that, then I feel like I've got to win. It's terrific to hear that. So the other question we ask, we talk about community. You guys are talking about community all over your stories. But let's start with you, Chris. So when you think about community, what's community mean to you?
I think community means people who are supportive and supportive in every aspect of life. So I think that's people who are queer and are straight that are supportive of the queer community. And I think Indianapolis has a large population of those people. But I think to me, that's where I feel safest is when someone um, is supportive of all of me and not just, doesn't just want to hang out because I'm the CEO of an organization. Like they get why we do this work.
Yeah.
And we do the work for the kids, not for ourselves.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer, by the way. Supportive of all of you and all encompassing. But same question to you, Joseph. What's community mean to you?
I think community means showing up and being able to lock arms and figure out how we tackle these hard things together. I don't think anything gets done in silos. Nothing gets done alone. Cities weren't built by one person. We need each other to do these things. And I think oftentimes we forget that because the world with thinking about technology, like sometimes it does isolate people. People get caught up in like their phone and what they're doing and not focusing on the present moment around them. And that has created this impact where like we are in a more hyper individualistic society that the whole neighborhood feeling of knowing who your neighbors are and showing up for them. The other day I think about one of my neighbors across the street, lovingly Miss Francis, who will text me and be like, "You left your garage open again. You can't be doing that. I'm gonna make sure that before you leave, it's closed." I'm like, "Thank you. Just like appreciate that you're looking out for me, and that I also know that if I'm not home and something is off with the house or things like that, people are looking out."
Yeah.
And so I think showing up and looking out for one another, those type of feelings were really present as I was growing up. And I remember like the neighborhood that I had, knowing who all my neighbors were and that I could go to any of them for help or just to hang out if I needed to. And I think community means like that feeling of when you can go to your neighbor for whatever it may be, and they're going to be excited to help out and chill up for you.
That's right. They get some joy when they're able to help others, but you take away their joy if you don't ask for their help. And so it's terrific to hear your guys' thoughts on community. And before we get to our last question, just thinking about your guys' stories and kind of how they intertwine in the heart of how you both ended up at IYG, right? So starting in Northern California, ending up in Kentucky, then coming here to Hanover, right? And then not claiming, but starting out as Buckeye, right? 5 years there.
Small part of the story.
Coming to Indianapolis, right? Then going to Manchester and going down the path. Both of you guys continuing the education path and going separate directions, right? So teaching in a non-for-profit and going for the for-profit space, 23 years of leadership, deciding at the pandemic, right, that ultimately this isn't filling your cup. I don't know the you might mention there, and being able to work with kids and maybe therapy might be a way to do it. And then for you coming home and after 23 years just saying, "Hey, I'm going to quit." And by the way, your spouse saying, "Yeah, we can work with that. We'll figure this out." Yeah. It's terrific to hear the support mechanism there. But the same reason, I wasn't filling your cup and you weren't helping people. And so the heart of both of your stories is terrific to be able to go out and help people and to do this in this area, to do it for our community. Thank you for what you're doing for our children that are 12 to 24. I believe they're the folks you guys answered. And within an hour driving all over the state of Indiana with your 5 locations. Certainly appreciate what you guys are doing with that. So last question, funnest one. If you're not at IYG working, what are you doing for fun, Chris?
Hanging out with friends, following Indiana Fever basketball. We've been season ticket holders for 27 years, since day one. Just hanging out with friends is the most important thing I do outside of work.
Love it, by the way. 27 years. It's hard to believe it was 27 years ago that
Yeah.
they started. It feels like yesterday.
Yeah.
And same question for you.
Yeah, similar. My fiance and I, we have so many of the same interests, which is it's so nice. And so he and I both are big video gamers, big board gamers, and so playing games together. The board game that we play the most is called Dice Throne. We both lead tournaments for that here in Indianapolis. We're going to Gen Con this week to play some more of those. He's actually going to be working at the Dice Throne booth at Gen Con, and so just really pouring into like that personal community that we built via video games, board games, and family is huge for both of us. So that personal time, and then of course our pups take up a good amount of our time too. We've got a 9-month-old golden retriever puppy named Maple, and then a 10-year-old fox terrier named Jasper. Yeah, so dog dads through and through, and just spending that time with those people that we love and care about the most.
Love that. Chris, Joseph, thank you for what you're doing for our youth in the state of Indiana. Chris, thank you for the service, staying more than 2 years, being there now. And we appreciate it. Congrats on the end of the year.
Well, thank you.
Retirement there. Looking forward to what's next for you. Thank you. And it sounds like with the chief of staff and what's going on at IYG, that things will be in good hands, continue forward into year 40. And so thank you both for being on the show. Appreciate you guys doing what you're doing.
Yeah, thanks
Thank you.
for having us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the Elevate podcast powered by Braden. Subscribe to stay informed on all things Braden and be the first to hear new conversations with the leaders who are driving change and elevating organizations across our community.